I'm the best ever. I'm Sonny Liston, I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me.
Yo, bounce guy, go off.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize for absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants.
Wilder's in a world of trouble, closing seconds. Can he weather the storm here in the third round?
And of all the superlative.
Big right hook, lands flush for Cambosos, and that knocks down Teofimo Lopez. We have ourselves a fight.
Khabib Nurmagomedov gets a triangle choke from up top. Gaethje's out, and the fight is over. The triangle choke for Khabib Nurmagomedov.
And Porter gets knocked down. He gets knocked down again. 10th round TKO win. Left uppercut, and then knocks out Leo. It appears he's out cold. The fight is over. It was a counter left uppercut, and just like that, what a left uppercut. I did not see that coming, ladies and gentlemen. I will have to admit, what a fight.
Nice celebration for a 3K video. I don't know, man. To hit 3,000 subscribers in like
Right hook to the body for Campbell. Left hook to the body for Garcia. And that knocked down Campbell. It was a left hook to the body. Campbell on the ground. The count is on. Can he make his way up? It appears he can't get up. Campbell on the ground. Trying to stand up. And the fight is over. Ryan Garcia with a 7th round knockdown. What a performance. Guys, if you haven't, hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers. Do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up. We're trying to do record numbers saying Ryan Garcia tearing up and crying. What a performance for Ryan Garcia. Yeah. There we go. Welcome, guys. Good morning. Another Monday morning MMA stream, and we're finally back, guys. Feels good to be here every Monday morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. We will be doing a live show, and you guys can call in and share your opinions on the weekend's past events. That's what we usually do, is 267-545-8096. Thank you guys for being here. Plenty to talk about, as always. I feel like lately in fight sports, we're entering into a new era. And by that, I mean, I feel like you're seeing a lot more fighters have more of a say in their careers. It seems like, I feel like the rankings, at least in the UFC, has been almost, in a sense, meaningless. And we'll touch on that as well, too. When we're talking about the number 9th ranked fighter potentially fighting for the title next. And then we saw that in the bantamweight division. No hate towards both fighters. I mean, they made themselves somewhat marketable, and the fans want to see them in the main event. But we'll talk about that in a bit as well, too. I'm gonna pump the brakes on some of the hype in this past weekend's events, whether it's Berlanga fighting Canelo, where I don't feel too great about, whether it's Topuria versus Volkanovski, another one that I don't feel necessarily optimistic about for the challengers in both scenarios. So UFC talk today. Ilia Topuria potentially fighting for the title. Deontay Wilder potentially fighting Andy Ruiz, and also as well too Canelo Alvarez on the PBC as well now. So So much going on. You can share your thoughts about Berlanga, about Ilia Topuria, about Wilder, Canelo with the PBC at 267-545-8096. And I will make sure to head over there and hear your voicemail and your call, and then we'll have a good back and forth. Let's catch up with chat real quick. Jesus M in the building, the first one here. What's up, Jesus? Welcome to the stream. He says, saludos. What's up, my guy, Jesus? The people will hear the truth once again. I don't have any idea who this person is. I could be wrong. If I had to guess, it's Trey. But they found an old picture of me with short hair, reading some kind of book with my legs folded. If you guys see in the chat, if you guys have any info, call in at 267-545-8096 and let me know who that is, because that's someone trolling, and they keep putting a certain date to August something of 2023 that they're going to reveal the truth. Whoever that is, I'm not sure. Hito in the building. What's up, Hito? 609. Hito has been pretty spot on in his predictions as of late. We got to give him credit, and we usually are not able to give credit to Hito, but he has been pretty spot on. We'll give him that. So we'll see if he calls in today, and we'll see whoever calls in today. I see a couple thoughts on what should happen next for Topuria. I was one of the first ones, at least that I saw, posted immediately after the fight that I don't think he's ready. I made a short literally like about an hour or so afterwards, and the only reason it took an hour is because of editing and all that. But I was quick. So we'll talk about that a bit, and we're about to get into that. Jesus says Topuria versus Cater. Let's head over to the UFC rankings. And let's find my guy, Ilia Topuria, who's right here, ranked number 9, who just beat number 5 fighter Josh Emmett. And it might have been, Topuria needs to be tested more, says Jesus M. It might have been better. I would argue, and again, you guys can call in, but I would argue that the best thing that could have happened for Topuria, although I know he wanted to get Josh Emmett out of there in the first round, the best thing that could have happened for him was going a full 5. He's never been a full 5 rounds before. And it kind of reminded me of Sean O'Malley versus Moutinho, where that was only a 3-round fight. But Sean O'Malley landed almost, let's say he had an Xbox or PS5 controller in his hands, and he threw every combination that was available in the control settings, in the playbook, right? Threw everything in the kitchen sink at Moutinho, and he couldn't get him out of there. Ilia Topuria was the same thing. He wasn't able to get Josh Emmett out in 5 rounds. He went for certain submissions. He knocked him down, I believe, in the 2nd round and in the 4th round of the fight. Emmett's face was battered pretty badly, right? The only difference between the Sean O'Malley example and Ilia Topuria versus Josh Emmett is Moutinho had nothing to offer as far as responding with some punches or anything that could hurt O'Malley. Although Emmett was hurt and didn't win a round, he was always dangerous, throwing some bombs that Ilia Topuria did a good job of defending. He didn't really allow Emmett to land anything vicious. He did land some overhand rights that landed clean on the button, but I think there was enough steam out of Emmett by the time that he was able to land a big shot. But we look at the rankings, and I want to talk about why people are already speaking of already this early, right after the fight, right? I gotta be careful. Oh my God, I forgot. Anyways, ignore that. We gotta look at the rankings, right? The only reason why they're talking about Ilia Topuria fighting for the title is because there's no one else out there. And we're starting to see that in other divisions in the UFC. Thank you, baby. Oh, that's perfect for me. And thanks. And there's other scenarios where we're seeing that happen in the UFC in the rankings, right? We head over to the welterweight division, right? Just to use an example. I'm not trying to be one of those conspiracy theorists, or not even that, but I said this before everyone else, but let's really talk about it. the era of the UFC and the fighters that are at the top of the division are getting old, and we're running out of options as far as contenders. Adesanya, since he beat Pereira and he doesn't keep score, he settles them, right? Imagine if Whitaker said the same thing if he beats Adesanya. But we're running out of options in that division. Vettori, Cannonier, Whitaker, I do want to see against Adesanya one more time, but Pereira. Maybe a Duplessis. But if you look at almost any other name in the division is getting somewhat, not 100%, but somewhat stagnant. You look at the welterweight division, almost the same thing. Usman was a champion for a while. It is refreshing to see Edwards as a champion. But it's the same names. Covington, Bilal, Usman, Leon. The only new name rising up the ranks, of course, is Chimaev. There's Rachmanov. But we're heading into a new era, lightweight division as well too, and it gets even more obvious, I think, in the lighter divisions because it's harder to, stay dominant in a lower weight class the older you get. But Neil Dariush just suffered a loss to Oliveira, so what are we gonna see? Oliveira versus Makhachev again? Are we gonna see Makhachev versus Gaethje or Chandler or Poirier? It's the same names over and over again. So back to my original point, Ilia Topuria got to win. And you look at the top five again. Volkanovski beats Yair Rodriguez. Who really is out there for Volkanovski? He beat Max Holloway 3 times. Ortega wasn't a close fight besides the submission attempt. Arnold Allen just suffered a loss. Emmett is on a 2-fight losing streak after winning 5 in a row. But he was hot until he fought Yair and Ilia Topuria. There's no one, again, else really out there. And we'll head over to the bantamweight division in a little bit. But it's fun to talk about these divisional rankings and what the future holds with the matchups that we can see. But we'll see what happens. To quickly answer HLWRR, welcome back to the stream, always showing love and always supporting. Do Bronx versus Conor, please. It's strange that you bring that up because that is one of the fights that not only I desire and will like next, but also I think that Chandler fight is out the door, and the possibilities of that, we won't be seeing that anytime soon. So you're probably right. It's probably going to be someone else for Conor. And if I can choose anyone else, 2 very dangerous strikers in the UFC, it's going to be Do Bronx. It's going to be Oliveira. If I could pick anybody in the top 10 to fight Conor right now, Beneil would have been interesting, but after the loss, not so much. Chandler, the trash talk of Chandler, he's just too nice of a guy for that. I honestly think that's why the Ultimate Fighter's not working, is because Chandler's too nice of a guy. McGregor, he's not even focused, not in the USADA pool. It lost its steam. Poirier, we already seen that movie a few times. Gaethje might be an interesting one as well too, but we'll see how he does against Poirier. But if Poirier beats Gaethje, I think the steam will be off of that. I like that idea, HL. But going back to Ilia Topuria, I know there isn't fresh meat for Volkanovski to face in the featherweight division, which leads us to talk about, is Ilia Topuria next for Alexander Volkanovski? If and when Volkanovski gets past Yair Rodriguez, it would be a beautiful story. To me, Volkanovski is one of my favorite fighters. I think he's a pound-for-pound best. We could quickly, hypothetically speak of, let's say he loses to Yair Rodriguez. Maybe the best thing that could happen for the division, right? But odds are that he beats Yair Rodriguez. And if so, what do we do with Ilia Topuria? Does he immediately go and fight for the title next? I have my thoughts on that. Would love to hear some guys in the chat. Tito says, Bo Nickel, Sugar Sean O'Malley, Hamza Chimaev, and don't ever forget Paddy Pimblett. I hope you're trolling. because Paddy Pimblett doesn't stand a chance unless he's in Thailand right now getting his striking up to par, and maybe he is. We've seen some clips. My man fluctuates from 135 to 215, it appears, in his career. But no, you mentioned some good names. I like Bo Nickal a lot. His wrestling, I'm telling you, is so not only so good, it's so dominant, and I can see him really causing trouble in his division. I think he's really going to be a problem in the middleweight division the more we see him develop. Volk still got to get past Yair is another, again, you're absolutely right. He has to get past Yair Rodriguez first. And Yair Rodriguez, although maybe not that technically inclined to beat Volkanovski as far as fundamentally, I just think Volkanovski is so solid. You saw what he did to Max Holloway and how sharp Volkanovski has looked. He even went up a weight class and beat one of the other pound for pound, arguably, right? They didn't give him the decision. Look at the pound for pounds on the left right now. I know my screen is covering it, so I'll go down a bit. Volkanovski is still ahead of Makhachev, and I think he should be. I thought he won the fight. He's moving on because there's really no one else in the division. Let's talk about Topuria and Volkanovski. And you guys can call in at 267-545-8096. Leave a voicemail as you guys usually do, and we'll talk about it. But let's converse about, does Topuria genuinely have a chance against Volkanovski? I know I'm almost looking past Yair Rodriguez. That's fine. If we can quickly say, if Yair Rodriguez wins, hypothetically, right? Let's say Yair Rodriguez wins, and he fights Topuria. I do believe that Topuria is a live dog in that fight. Now the leg kicks, the striking of Yair, where he could hurt, he could give. And again, Yair beat Emmett, so did Topuria. Topuria beat Emmett as well too. We started looking at the matchups, not trying to get into the triangle theories at all, but if it were Topuria and Yair, that fight is almost a 50-50. Slight edge maybe to Yair Rodriguez. Maybe the odds show a minus 155 or 185, just because more experienced, been around longer, and if he beat Volkanovski, that will say a lot. But that's almost a 50-50 fight. I would say a minus 165 to 185 for Yair Rodriguez. But let's just play with the scenario, because that's what most people assume. Most people assume that Volkanovski is going to get the job done. I was the first one to say, I think, unless you guys feel the same, maybe you guys feel differently, you guys let me know. I believe that it's too early. Too early right now. I don't want to see the next fight being Topuria and Volkanovski. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Is it too early? That's the main question of the moment right now. Too early for title. Ilia Topuria. Let's make that. In his career or title fight. I would love to see how you guys vote, just to get a general idea, but just made that poll on stream. You guys can go vote over there. We talking like he won already. I know. That's why I don't want to jump the gun. I'm just going on what's most likely going to be the case. I will be the first one to be completely happy to see the upset. Didn't Ilya just say he wants to slow down and doesn't want Volk? Could have sworn he said that in the the latest that I saw was that he actually said he will knock out Volkanovski in the first round. Let's see if I could find the quote for you. Maybe I'll head over to it. I will finish Alex Volkanovski in one round, he said in a post-fight interview on the Mac Life. And I'm pretty sure he said that, and that's why I had to look it up to confirm. But he said the same thing about Emmett, and it took him a full 5 rounds. And if we're talking about the comparison and the similarities between Emmett and Volkanovski, it's a completely different world. Yair, if he couldn't get Emmett out of there in 5 rounds, he's not doing that to Volkanovski, to be quite honest. Mike in the building. What's up, Mike? Welcome to the stream. Great to have you back as well, too. The Silver Glove member, thanks to the gifted membership by Beta Quest. Thank you guys for the ongoing support. I see the gloves out there. Hito609 says, we thought that about Valentina, and until that Mexican girl jumped on her back like a spider monkey. Look at Hito. Let's give him a round of applause, because that man went from rooting for Ryan Garcia versus Tank, and it's just jokes. He had a feeling Tank would win. He was just being the heel. So let me give the full story, because sometimes I don't do so with Hito. But Hito went from, being somewhat of a casual that I had to kind of teach him the ropes. Look at him now, giving us comparisons and using we thought that about, and then he uses examples like Valentina and Alexa Grasso. Look at him going back in time and using good examples. Credit to Hito improving his MMA knowledge. I'm going to come out and say Toporia's ready. Wow. Anybody that wants to leave a voicemail, 267-545-8096. And you can tell me why Topuria is ready or not. What I saw this past Saturday, and granted, I love events at 3 p.m. I almost wish every event was in Abu Dhabi at this point, because the 10 p.m. start times with 2 kids is crazy. But I will say I disagree with you wholeheartedly. Let me explain why a little bit. Emmett not even having... Where's the unsub button? As the fight... And this is a little bit speculative. As the fight progressed... You guys tell me if I'm wrong. As the fight progressed, it appeared like to me Topuria was getting a little bit tired. I'm not saying Emmett rallied. You saw one scorecard had it like 50-42. I believe Ilia Topuria won a 50K bonus. He did what he had to do. I think it was best for him to go a full 5 rounds. But that was the first time in his career to go a full 5 rounds. Wasn't able to get Emmett out of there. Won the fight convincingly. But you could tell he wanted the knockout, just wasn't able to get it. A full 5 rounds against Alexander Volkanovski is a whole different ballgame. Completely different ballgame if we look at the champion in Alexander Volkanovski. And I'm going to say Topuria is not necessarily ready for that. And there's no hate, because I remember when he fought Bryce Mitchell, I said Topuria is going to win this fight. Bryce Mitchell is a really good fighter, and it's going to be a really good win for Topuria. But Topuria is still doesn't have the names on his resume to jump from a Emmett to a Volkanovski, in my opinion. Look at his record. Remember, he beat Ryan Hall, who was spamming Eminari rolls back in July 10th, 2021. Ryan Hall, is that a good win? You can say that's a veteran, but in the striking department, Ryan Hall had nothing to offer. Essentially a jiu-jitsu practitioner. The Jai Herbert fight, almost lost to Jai, where he got stunned, and he ends up winning a performance of the night in round number 2. Then you look at Bryce Mitchell. He fights the jiu-jitsu practitioner and goes on and submits him. Reminds me of John Jones beating certain fighters at their own game. Loved that performance. Then against Josh Emmett, it was fight of the night. You saw the face of Josh Emmett. Completely battered, obliterated. It's a good win. I don't mean to take anything away from him. It's a good win. But let me offer some other options for Topuria instead of Volkanovski. Because he was number 9. He beat Emmett. So let's say you put him right there. And the names above him are Arnold Allen, Brian Ortega, Max Holloway, and Yair Rodriguez. Why not give him? And when was the last time Brian Ortega won a fight? Why not give him a Brian Ortega who lost his last 2 fights, Volkanovski and Yair Rodriguez? His last win was Chen Sung Young in October 2020, so almost 3 years ago. You can think about that. If Brian Ortega wants to stay up in the rankings, why not give him a name like Ilia Topuria? It's time for him to play gatekeeper, right? He sort of has already in a sense. Why not give him Brian Ortega? I think Volkanovski, he's only 26 years old. If Topuria was 32, if Topuria was 31, even 30, I would say, okay, I understand. It's time. He's old enough, mature enough. At 26 years old, why not a Brian Ortega? Why not an Arnold Allen, who just lost to Max Holloway? Where he didn't look the worst, but he got, for the most part, dominated. It is a dangerous fight because if you're trying to build up someone like Topuria and he doesn't beat Arnold Allen, then it's not back to square one, but it's so early in his career where he has plenty of time is my argument. And the beautiful thing about Topuria is you almost can't go wrong, which is the beauty in having such a young rising star. Even if Topuria were to fight Volkanovski, let's say early next year, and he loses, let's say a lopsided loss. Oh, he was young, he wasn't ready. You build him back up. He fought for the title at 26, 27 years old. He lost, not a big deal. Or if he makes it a close fight and we say, listen, this guy's going to be ready. It almost reminds me of a Zhang Weili where she was able to fail a few times and not necessarily fight up to the level of the competition when she went up the ranks until she finally got the job done. And to me, Zhang Weili is arguably the best female fighter in the world right now, to me. But there was a time where she couldn't get past Nama Yunus. It was a close fight against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. The beauty of having someone like Ilia Topuria and building up a star like him and a star like Bo Nickel, even if they were to lose right now in their career, so early where you can still build them up. Let's catch it with chat. HL says 200% too early. Ilia didn't look that crazy against Emmett. I agree. He looked sharp. He looked fast. Some good counterpunching. It was interesting to see him being the patient one against the veteran in Emmett. He was the one that was taking it easy. Emmett came out the gate, guns blazing, and Topuria took his time. It was good to see that kind of poise, that patience from a young fighter. But he didn't look that crazy, says HL, against Emmett. Yair was more impressive in my opinion. Yair against Emmett was more impressive in my opinion as well too, although Ilia dominated. That's outrageous to say about Volk, says what part, HL? Where's the answer button? Like, I almost lost the job. We all forget that. Ilia almost lost. Yeah, he got hurt, but then he ended up getting the finish himself. As the fight progressed, Topuria was incredibly experienced in my mind. Knowing Emmett is always dangerous, outclassed him. That's a good point. And it might almost seem or sound like I'm being a bit too harsh on Topuria because it reminds me of Boots Ennis in his last fight and just fighters in general where you're right. Emmett was still somewhat always dangerous, throwing bombs, where if he caught Topuria, it could have been bad for Ilia. So it's understandable why Topuria won in the fashion in which he did. It was probably the smart thing to do, and that goes credit to him being such a young fighter and still being so poised. HL says, Ilia's jab was solid. I wish he would have used it more. Good morning to you guys. This is what Hito calls me, by the way, if you guys didn't know. If you guys didn't know, that's what he should refer to me as until he wins a bet against me. Big cup of coffee. Wouldn't have it any other way early on a Monday morning. Ilia's jab was solid, but Volkanovski isn't going to walk into jabs all night. Not only that, you give Volkanovski any kind of strategic advantage as far as he sees something earlier than you do, he's going to make you pay. He might throw that right hand over the top of that jab, and he throws it in way much more speed where it's not telegraphed like Emmett. Not only that, something Ilia could have used more too was the leg kicks. He was successful in that department. Volkanovski starts chopping at the legs of Topuria and slows Topuria down. It could be a very long night for Topuria. So to me, it's tough. It's tough. To me, it's tough. It's just a bit too early for him, in my opinion. And you guys can call in and share your thoughts if you guys would like to. I think Ortega submits him, to be honest. Wow. That's a bold prediction. I wholeheartedly disagree with you. Let's see how you guys voted. Ilia Topuria too early in his career for title fight. 71% say yes, 29% say no. Ortega could possibly be worst matchup for Topuria because of his jiu-jitsu. Agreed. I'm like, wow, all right, let's pump the brakes. Let's pump the brakes because HL agrees with Mike Dornan's comment that Ortega could possibly be the worst matchup. I wholeheartedly disagree with both of you guys. I think Topuria's jiu-jitsu is underestimated. I don't think Ortega submits Topuria at all. I would even go on to say I think Topuria beats Ortega decisively. Let's travel back to Ilia Topuria's fight against Bryce Mitchell. If you guys remember, Bryce Mitchell is a pretty damn good jiu-jitsu practitioner, right? He's look at his prior fights and what he was able to do. Let me see if I could bring him up real quick. Bryce Mitchell against Barbosa. Let's talk about Bryce Mitchell's jiu-jitsu. Remember Trey's favorite his favorite stat was he's the only other man to have a twister submission in the UFC, which I don't really care about. But at the end of the day, he lost by arm triangle against Topuria. Topuria's wrestling, his ability to sprawl quickly and do some damage in the striking department, I think he hurts Ortega. Granted, Ortega, another point to make as well too against Ortega is we don't know what version of Ortega we get in the future because of the punishment that he took against not only Volkanovski, but also by Yair Rodriguez. Remember, speaking of Ortega, you guys might be talking about 2020 Brian Ortega, but he lost by KO against Max Holloway in 2018. He gets a win against Chen Sung Young. Fair enough. But the amount of punishment that he took in 2021 against Volkanovski, and then his shoulder popped against Yair Rodriguez. So he's getting older. He's dealing with injuries. He's been around for a while. Ortega is 32, but he's an old 32. He's like a 2018 Civic, which is like, okay, that's, pretty new. That should last you a while, but then he has 272,000 miles on it. He's an old 32 years old, has dealt with injuries, has taken a lot of punishment, where Topuria is kind of fresh. I would just go on to say I disagree wholeheartedly with you guys, and I would take some bets if that fight were ever made. But it's good that we can have a back and forth because it makes us realize it's a good fight. It's a maybe 50-50 fight for Ilia Topuria. I love what he was able to do this past weekend. I just think it's too quick to fight Volkanovski. Let's pump the brakes. So let's look at other options. I would even go on to say maybe this is somewhat of an unpopular opinion as well, too. It might be too early for Topuria to fight Max Holloway.
You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. You need people like
Is that too much hate for someone that just won to be spewing these things? It might be too early for Holloway. It might be too early for Volkanovski. You guys let me know in the chat because, again, incredible, dominant performance, but maybe Josh Emmett just isn't who we thought he was. And when you start speaking of names like Max Holloway and Volkanovski, and maybe even Yair Rodriguez, I would take it to the next step. I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit, but let's look at those three names. Maybe Emmett just isn't what we thought he was. You know what I need to put it as a clip in the stream? That Chicago Bears coach he is who we thought they are, who we thought they were, something like that. That's what I need. But anyways, it almost sounds like I'm hating against a fighter that just got the job done in impressive fashion. I just think the level of competition between a Emmett as compared to a Holloway, Rodriguez, or Volkanovski is might be a little bit of hyperbole. Is almost worlds apart. Mike says that overhand right from Emmett looked terrible, but he threw it mostly to keep Topuria away from him. maybe he was using it in that fashion, but it just reminds me of that fight against Yair Rodriguez where he was doing the same thing. He was spamming the right hand over the top that he wasn't ever able to land. Maybe he landed it once in the fight. And I like that this has become I'm clipping that terrible quote. What part was bad about it? Emmett sucks. Listen. Some logic in the chat finally.
I don't mean no disrespect on Henry, but I don't mean
some logic in the chat. Plugs. I am making the argument. Glad you're here. For those that want to call in, you guys can 267-545-8096. Is the title fight too early for Topuria? That is the main topic of discussion. It's almost a little bit different where we're staying long on one topic as compared to before and other streams. This is nice. This is good. We're having an ongoing debate. I believe it's too early. Topuria is good. What's up, Joe De Jesus? Welcome to the stream, my guy. Topuria, look, I'm not trying to take anything away from him. Dominant performance against Emmett. Maybe Emmett isn't as good as we thought he was. But let's pump the brakes when we talk about Topuria versus Volkanovski. And I would even go a step further. Maybe you guys could convince me otherwise, but I think it's too early for him to even fight Holloway. Maybe Holloway puts on some punishment against Topuria, especially you look at the physical attributes and the tail of the tape between both fighters. Maybe it's best for Topuria to wait for Holloway to get just a little older. It looks like his chin hasn't expired yet, which is just crazy, but it might be too early right now for Topuria, even after a win against Emmett, to fight Holloway and Volkanovski. Maybe Yair Rodriguez is that fine line where he could potentially get that win. Emmett sucks. Emmett does suck, says HL. Mike Dornan says, I didn't say Ortega beats Topuria. I said he could possibly be the worst. Okay, he could possibly be the worst matchup. We've seen Topuria hang with the high-class strikers. He has no problem there. Is it fair to say that Bryce Mitchell is a high-class grappler? Because if that is the case, Ilya was able to submit a high-class grappler. Remember, he also fought Ryan Hall, and he didn't allow, it's Ryan Hall. He didn't allow him to get to his game of grappling and get a submission, and he got the knockout against Ryan Hall. So let's classify. Who does Topuria beat? Who Topuria doesn't beat? Let's go through the top 5. I'll give my opinions, and you guys can tell me who you guys feel he beats or he doesn't beat. These are the names that I think he beats and doesn't beat. Against Volkanovski, at this point in his career, I'm not saying in the future he can't. At this point in his career, at 26 years old, he loses to Volkanovski. So that's 1 L. We go to Yair Rodriguez. That's a very interesting one. I almost wish that I can wait for Rodriguez and Volkanovski to see how that fight plays out to give my prediction. But I'm going to go on a limb here and say, if they were to fight tomorrow, I'm going to go with Topuria. I think it gets interesting. I think the power of Topuria maybe disrupts Yair Rodriguez a bit. That's 1-1 against the top 5. Against Brian Ortega, I think Topuria wins. That's 2-1. And I kind of alluded as to why. Against Arnold Allen, strangely enough, I think that's somewhat of a tough... against Max Holloway, I skipped. I'm sorry. Against Max Holloway, I think he loses right now at this point in his career. So that's 2-2. Against Arnold Allen, I think he gets the job done. 3-2. So against the top 5, I think he goes 3-2. And that's why there's other fights to make, in my opinion. I don't think Topuria beats Volk. A little bit of logic in the chat. And I'm just messing for those that disagree with me. But Joe, I feel the exact same way. I'll take a bet with you that Topuria is champ by 2025, DC. I don't think I could take that bet, Mike. I love the challenge, but the problem is I think he eventually becomes champ, just not right now. If Volkanovski wasn't in the picture, Topuria becomes champ. If he vacates, if he starts fighting at 155 and he gets tired of making the 145 because there's nothing else to prove there, Topuria is like probably my first candidate to be to be a champion, Mike. So by 2025, I think I agree with you. Now, if we were to trace it back to 2024, then maybe I would take that back. Bryce kind of a bum now. Hate to say it. Were we right all along, HL? I told Trey I try to educate him, but he's a little stubborn guy. Good morning, and thank you for the great turnout on a Monday morning, 10:30 a.m. Every Monday morning live stream. You guys can call in at 267-545-8096. We have 2 voicemails. Let's head over to there and see what people had to say of Topuria and Emmett and the future. So it's great to have some voicemails. Let's see what we got going on. Let me firstly quickly mute this just in case, because I don't know what we're going to get on this one. It says transcription unavailable. Oh my God. I don't know who this is. And it must be the countdown guy. Because are you guys ready? I don't know who this is. And they went far enough to use an automated voice, but here we go.
Miller, the people will hear the truth once again. You are being watched.
This is the countdown guy.
You are being listened to. Miller, you must know. Your time has come. The people must hear the truth on fighting again. 08.19.23. The people will hear the truth once again.
On
the great
August
return
19th.
awaits. The countdown continues.
This man has been trolling me like for the past month. And he keeps saying August 19th, 2023. The only thing that's happening on that day that is somewhat relevant, I'll show you guys. I think it's UFC 291. No, 292 then. This is August 19th. This is my theory real quick. I don't know who the hell this is, but my theory real quick before we get back to some fight talk. August 19th, 2023 is UFC 292 Sterling versus O'Malley. Who's a big O'Malley fan? Maybe the biggest? It has to be Trey. It has to be. There is no other candidate that I could think of that's relevant. He keeps saying August 19, 2023, and he finds an old picture of me that's like on Facebook. The only one that could find that is like Facebook friends, right? I think. It has to be. He's the biggest Sean O'Malley. It has to be him. Anyways, let's go on to our next voicemail. Whoever it is, if it's Trey, you're a bum and you stole me $20. If it's not, I don't know who the hell it is. Path to Truth doesn't be vote. I agree. Welcome to the stream, Path to Truth. Great to have you back. Let's catch. Wait, Ortega is a high-class submission artist from all positions. I still think that this guy gets it done. Your theory. Wow, this is what we do. Oh my God, I'm crying. Thank you, Hito, for the $2, man. I appreciate you so much, man. Those $2 goes a long way. I could keep buying these cups of coffee. It's just a theory that I came up with on my own, Hito. I just thought to myself, what is August 19th? And I just, was playing with the idea. Plug says, the DC Fight Club member with the silver glove, says, Yair beats Topuria. Maybe we should pump the brakes and talk about, because I had Topuria beating Yair. Why so? You think the striking gets it done? His unorthodox style approach with his question mark kicks, kicks to the body, the teeps, wide stance, kind of like the karate, taekwondo stance. You think that troubles Topuria? I think Topuria maybe takes him down early. Yair's another dog. I love this division. It's becoming one of my favorites. I've been saying that the bantamweight division is my favorite. The featherweight division was somewhat of a standstill because Volkanovski has been so dominant. We have another voicemail that we'll touch on now as well too, but it's great to talk at length on a single topic. Let's go to the next voicemail. I'm telling you, the countdown dude is Trey. It has to be. Let's go to the next voicemail. Let's see what they have to say about Topuria, and let's get it.
Hito 609.
So first off, it's Hito 609. But I have to pause him already because I will say, Hito, you've been on fire. Don't mess it up now. Here we go.
Canelo versus Charlo.
Oh, so maybe a subject change right here. He says, I want to talk about this Canelo versus Charlo.
BS.
I would love to hear what he has to say. Let's kick it off. Thank you for $2 again, Hito.
I don't get it. All right, look.
He says, trace it back.
Hito 609. I want to talk about this Canelo versus Charlo BS. I don't get it. All right, look, you signed the guy for $100 million. That's $100 million you're giving this guy, right? You know, as a promoter, when you sign somebody for that much money, you want to like almost 10x your investment, at least 5x, right? You're gonna do this Charlo. You got 3 fights to, at least 5x this money, and you start with Charlo. Charlo hasn't fought in like 2 years.
Over 2 years, I think already. The last time Jamal Charlo has fought, to your point, June 19th, 2021. So it's been a little over 2 years. And by the time he fights, it'll be maybe 2.5, maybe 3. So good point. You're correct in your in saying that.
I don't think he's even fought that weight. Everybody knows Canelo's gonna beat him.
And you look at his level of opponents too. Derevchenko, solid win. And Juan Montiel as well too, but there are no Canelos, right? He hasn't fought in quite some time. Back to the voicemail.
And if he doesn't beat him, then they're gonna rematch. You're not gonna make no money. You better hope he beats him. And then financially, if he doesn't, you're screwed. Because then Canelo's gonna want a rematch. What are you gonna get? $300K for this fight? You're gonna probably get a little bit more. I say $500K because it's Mexican Independence Day. And
historically, black fighters versus Mexican fighters sell quite well. I would have liked to see Charlo. It's a good point, man, because it would be so much better, Hito. And I'm glad you brought this up as we transition to Canelo and Charlo. We'll come back to Yair Rodriguez and Toporia's win because it has been a hot topic in the chat. You bring up a very valid point, Hito. I'm thinking about right now, if you're trying to sell Charlo, because he has been out of the ring for 2 years, that desire or excitement for that fight is not all the way there, right? Let's say if Charlo was able to get a big win before Canelo and looks dominant, now we're interested. Just like Benavidez got a big win over Caleb Plant. And Benavidez has been a mandatory for Canelo. The hype is there. If it's Charlo next, again, historically, black fighters and Mexican fighters, when they fight each other, they do quite well pay-per-view wise. But I can see your reasoning of why the excitement might not be there.
And you know how it goes. They run deep, right? So that's what? Even 500K, probably about 40 mil. That's one fight. You're already 1/3 of the contract in. You want at least 5.
Oh, Hito's passionate about this. You hear it in his voice. You usually don't get this version of Hito. Let's keep it going.
Extra money. These are the promoters are trying to do here. And I don't get it, but it's Charlo. They should have made him fight Benavidez.
Oh, that's the fight. That's the fight, man. I hear the name Benavidez. I hear the name Canelo together, and it's exciting. If that fight were announced, I could do 3 weeks in a row just talking about that fight Monday morning and only that topic, and it'll be enough. We start talking about both of their performances against Caleb Plant. We start talking about Benavidez being a big 168-pounder, having the size advantage. We talk about Canelo being older in his career now too, where maybe we have seen some diminishing returns as far as his skill level. We saw him against John Ryder, although able to get the win. He just didn't look the same. He losing to Bivol, and he wanted that fight, but Bivol doesn't necessarily want it. So Bivol doesn't want it. Badu Jack even turned him down as well too, how the options are out of there, where he was, maybe you could even go with the narrative that he was forced to fight Benavidez because there was nobody else out there for him. Nobody wants to see a Triple G fight again as well too. There's so much to talk about in that fight. So you start talking about Benavidez, and it's exciting. Let's continue.
I don't care. I don't care if you say he's worked his way. He doesn't have to take these fights anymore. Nope. Go out guns blazing. You're a promoter. You got to 5 extra money. I'm just upset that he's probably never going to fight Benavidez. And
because he signs to Al Heyman, and they're all under that umbrella, and that's another topic of discussion, is everybody being under the PBC is just is that good for boxing? Are they becoming like the UFC of Are they like, is PBC the UFC of boxing? Is everything becoming somewhat of a monopoly and under one umbrella? Maybe. Let's keep it going.
I'm just upset that he's probably never going to fight Benavidez. And
I disagree with you there. I think because he signs a 3-fight deal, I think we're going to see that fight eventually.
That's going to be a crazy fight, and that's where the promoters are going to make their money. I thought this whole
imagine that fight for Mexican Independence Day, Benavidez versus Canelo. I know you can still sell that in the future if he gets past Charlo first, but damn, I want to see that fight right now. And the longer Canelo takes, the more we're seeing him exit the prime of his career, or he's already out of it, but just him diminishing.
Crazy fight. And that's where the promoters are going to make their money. I thought this whole Ryan and Tank thing was going to get everybody to go back to...
Ito is on. Let's go back.
This whole Ryan and Tank thing was going to get everybody to go back to, you know, fighting the fights, making the biggest fights possible. I'm not interested in the Charlo thing. The guy had...
Credit to, man, I wish there was more than a wrench that I could give you in chat, like a star next to your name for like the best cause as of late. Hito is going. Listen, I thought Garcia versus Tank was a beginning of of something good. We're getting Spence, and we talked about this on the show. We're getting Spence, Crawford. We got Tank versus Garcia. And people were saying, oh, that wasn't even a competitive fight. I wasn't even talking about that. We're getting the fights that fans wanted. Fans wanted to see Tank and Garcia. We got it. Fans wanted to see Haney Lomachenko. We got it. Fans wanted to see Spence and Crawford a little bit late, but we're getting it. Let's freaking get Canelo and Benavidez now. The time to pull the trigger on that fight is right now for it to be one of the most memorable years in boxing.
The money. I thought this whole Ryan and Tank thing was going to get everybody to go back to, you know, fighting the fights, making the biggest fights possible. I'm not interested in the Charlo thing. The guy hadn't fought in 2 years. He didn't even fight.
That's where I might have to pump the brakes a little bit. He says, I'm not interested in the Charlo thing. I think I could get on board, but thank you. Look, round of applause. I gotta give credit where it's due. He's passionate too.
Making the biggest fights possible. I'm not interested in the Charlo thing. The guy hadn't fought in 2 years. He didn't even fight in that weight class. We already know Canelo's going to whoop him. I'm not watching it. I will be tuning in to Miller DC as he wastes his money on that fight. That's all I got to say.
I always do. Credits on you for. Let's transition to Canelo and Charlo a bit. If you guys want to call in, you guys can at 267-545-8096. Talk about Canelo and Charlo, or you can continue talking about Ilito Poirier and whether he deserves a title shot next. We will be talking about Wilder versus Ruiz and the potential of that fight. Hito had a lot to say. His main thesis and his argument today, which he was really passionate about, was he doesn't want to see Canelo and Jermall Charlo. The parts that I would disagree is, if it's not Benavidez, the next best thing, is it Charlo? Is there any other name in that 160 to 168 division that we are excited for? If it's not him in the middleweight division, it gets quite interesting. Or even in the light heavy, if he chooses to go up, it just gets interesting. But Bivol doesn't want the fight. Bivol and Beterbiev, it appears, might be next as well too. What do we do with Canelo Alvarez? What do we do with Canelo Alvarez at this point in his career? Because the Charlo fight maybe is not the most exciting. I wanted to see number 1 versus number 2. Benavidez has been a mandatory, and people don't talk about that as well too as much. Benavidez was a mandatory for quite a while, and he found ways around it. There's Boo Boo Andrade maybe out there, but that doesn't sell better than a Charlo fight. You don't even see Charlo in the top 10 as far as the box rankings. David Morrell, he has a lot of amateur fights as well too, climbing up the ranks. Caleb Plant already already lost to Canelo and Benavidez. I agree. Maybe fans should demand walls closing in on Canelo. That's a good way to put it, because maybe fans should demand. We don't want nothing other than Benavidez. I know Charlo is a star and is a name, but look, we already allowed the John Ryder fight to happen. That already had 5 losses before Canelo, and nobody was really excited for that fight. They were fighting in Mexico. Let Canelo have that. Let Canelo have that. But when it comes to the next fight for Canelo, why not? Because the Boo Boo fight isn't that quite interesting. They're talking about, if you guys heard, And he just came off a win this past week, and he knocked Quigley down about 4 times. They're talking about Edgar Berlanga being the next opponent for Canelo Alvarez. Me being Puerto Rican myself, my mom from Utuado, Puerto Rico, you would think I would say, let's do Berlanga. There's no way that Berlanga has a chance or should get the Canelo fight next. I sound like a hater against my own. And that's the problem with boxing sometimes as well, too. They make it all about race. If you criticize the Latino fighters, you're against the Hispanics. If you criticize the black fighters, you're against black fighters. Listen, race aside, I'm talking about a meritocracy. Berlanga doesn't deserve that fight just because he beat Quigley. I thought he needed maybe a knockout performance to even consider that fight or even talk about it. But right now in his career, Berlanga against Canelo, no way. I want to see the Benavidez fight more than anything. And Benavidez wants that fight more than anything. They were talking about Morrell and Benavidez, but and the fans got bamboozled because the conversations were, that fight is made, so we're not going to get Canelo next. And it was all proven to be untrue. If you revoke, there has to be a rematch. I'm thinking we will see Topuria fight Max Allen next. I would rather see the Allen fight. I think Max is a little bit too much of a step up, Mike. Some good heavyweight boxing would be nice too. Oh, listen, we get a Wilder versus Ruiz. Or I wanted the Wilder versus Joshua fight more than the Ruiz fight, but I'll take a Andy Ruiz fight to build up maybe a Wilder versus Joshua fight. Eddie confirmed Wilder and Joshua in December. How recent was this? Because the most recent negotiations that I've been seeing was Wilder and Ruiz. As of like today, I saw a few articles. Walls closing in on Canelo. We maybe would have let Canelo slide if he got the Bivol fight because he wants to avenge that loss, and because of everything that he has accomplished in boxing, you could say, okay, give him the Bivol fight. He deserves it. Bivol has said no. The Jack fight, Jack being what, 40 years old, 42? I got Badu Jack, 39. But because he's hunting for titles, I hated the idea. But I'm like, look, he's trying to, unify and get titles at the top. I understand. Even Jack neglected him. And he said on June 17th, about a week ago, a little over that, I won't be fighting Canelo next. They said the weight difference is too much. They wanted to drain the old man, referring to himself, and fight me 20 pounds under the cruiserweight limit for the title, crying face, plus a rehydration clause. Canelo, let's give the fans what they want to see and fight David Benavidez. Even he's claiming for the fight that fans want to see. So when Plug says the walls are closing in on Canelo, I have to agree. Now he signs with Al Heyman a 3-fight deal. It gets quite interesting what the PBC chooses to do with Canelo. I don't think we're going to get as much as I'm exclaiming and complaining about we need to see or we want that Benavidez fight next. I'm here to tell you it's most likely not going to happen. Still holding grudge against boxing after the Grand Theft Loma. Path to Truth. I thought it was a clear 7 rounds to 5. I had it 8 rounds to 4, at least 7-5. At best, maybe you could give him a draw. It is a shame, but it is nice to see that a lot of fans and even like big stars like Steven Jackson and other stars in the boxing world say, look, Lomachenko, you won that fight. And I have heard rumors of them wanting to revisit a rematch for that fight. So we'll see how people feel about that. 267-545-8096. You guys can share your thoughts. I heard that Hito 609, that's actually signed ? Berlanga called out Triple G and Munguia. Now, if we talk about Berlanga and what he should get next, those fights I would want more. But the Canelo fight is just laughable. We don't want to see Berlanga versus, and no hate to Berlanga. He just needs to improve himself some more. He needs to become more experienced. But to pick Berlanga and Canelo and that being a competitive fight, I just don't see that happening at this point in his career. They should never make the Berlanga fight, not even 5 years down the line, huh, Plugs? It's about signing August 12th. I think it's going to be Wilder Ruiz next, Hito. So I seen articles on Wilder versus Francis too. They need to get their together. I think Joshua is up for fighting anyone. It's the rest. That might be the best thing that could happen for Francis. Joshua or Wilder. If he if Francis Ngannou is able to make either of those two fight happens, it was good that he left the UFC. I don't care what anyone says. I will debate that to the end of the earth. I believe if he's able to make that happen, then he won. But he needs one of those big boxing names. Plug says, what fights do they give Canelo besides Charlo and Benavidez? That's a go to Fight Hub. Eddie talked about it. I have to be careful. Let me know if you can give me a minute marker too. Fight Hub and Fight Hype, man. They're always on it as far as the news. Let me see if I could bring it up with Eddie Hearn. I saw Eddie Hearn on MMA Fighting a few days ago. It's thundering outside like crazy. Eddie Hearn confirms Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. There's a 12-minute and 33-second video. So I'll try to pick that apart and see what he says. Sometimes going to the comments is one of the best things you can do as far as information. If what Hearn states is true, then why would Wilder want to fight Ruiz next? And is what we've been seeing. What I've been saying, Rolly's just not that good. Jaime Munguia is effed really. I love how open Eddie is with the media. Let's see. I also love the black Puerto Rican abuelito that was waiting for us to finish. Please let this happen. We need Ruiz versus Wilder and AJ versus Wilder. Selfishly, let me be quite honest. Selfishly, I want it to be. I think I'm on it right now. No, copy link address. Let's see. I think I'm on the right one. Let's see. Yeah. I was already on there, right? Yes. Selfishly, I want the next person to get Wilder is Francis Ngannou. I don't think it hurts any of their careers. It being Francis or Wilder. Have a little fun matchup, make a ton of money. Francis Ngannou somewhat defeats the UFC as far as like making a ton of money out of there, and it becomes quite interesting. I hope it's true, says Mike. Let me know just a minute marker and I'll play a little bit. Let me quickly skip and find something good for you guys and breaking news from Hito 609. Let's see what we could find.
Quebec City
Let me increase the quality as well too. And you guys can share your thoughts at 267-545-8096. We're having a fun time talking some fighting. Very good turnout today, so thank you.
Yes, I support this.
Okay.
I won't apologise.
I would apologize. So he's not talking about it yet.
But I think Regis can win the fight.
And he's talking about Regis after he had a questionable win.
Now he's going at Leonard Ellaby, which is fantastic.
Leonard Ellaby, which is fantastic.
I think he was here tonight. You know, obviously we got the Montana Love situation. Anyone else, you would have gone, fuck, like.
Come on, Eddie Hearn.
As a fighter.
Fight Hub is smart. They're going to talk about everything else before the main topic.
Well. So maybe there's an offer from Japan. Yeah, another good fighter. That's what we thought when Kell Brook fought. I still want a guy that maybe he's a good fighter. A bit like David Morrell, yeah?
Maybe they talked about it in the beginning.
Slipping. He's like 39 years old.
Who's slipping?
He's the favourite. But watch, see this now. Sometimes you see it, right? Counter with the left hook. He's like 39 years old, but he's also a beast. He's unbelievable. He's a machine. Yeah,
he destroyed Smith in 2 rounds. He destroyed Yard.
Yeah. See the Yard fight, like in Mexico City in person.
Okay, I need a minute marker.
This one punch knockout.
Can I just ask you something?
You can ask me whatever you want.
If it does not go that way,
yes,
and it goes the way that most of the authors of the BS fights.
But congratulations,
agree with running
his country. Well, I don't know. I mean,
I have to be careful. Let's keep talking some fighting because I don't want to play too much of Fight Hub, and then this stream gets copyright struck, and then we're in trouble because we played too much. But if you could find a minute marker, let me know, Hito, and we'll get back to it. But yeah, I would like to see Wilder and Francis. Selfishly, I would like to see Canelo. If we're talking about selfishly, Canelo, Benavidez, selfishly. Wilder, Francis, or Wilder Joshua is even, a fight. Damn, I might even want. If you guys were able to pick the next fight for Deontay Wilder, let's quickly transition to our other picture on our thumbnail, right? So we covered Ilia Topuria. We talked at length about that. Great conversation. So thank you, chat. We talked at length about Topuria, and we could close up on that in a little bit, but talked about Topuria, talked about Canelo. Let's talk about Deontay Wilder. If you guys can pick, and it looks like the candidates are, there's 3. Andy Ruiz, Anthony Joshua, Francis Ngannou, as surprising as that may sound. And I think that the last one is really unlikely, but we'll see. We saw him at the PFL event, and they were talking a bit. If you guys are able to pick from those 3 opponents, who would you like to see Wilder fight next? 12 minutes? Thank you. Let's get it. So, of course, they waited to the end. And I'll play that in a second. But let's quickly talk about those 3 opponents. Off a limb right now, if I had to pick, I like the Joshua fight. Both are boxers. Both are global stars. It sells well because you have the American and Deontay Wilder, massive star. Because you saw that Wilder versus Helenius didn't sell the best. Then you have Anthony Joshua from overseas, from the UK. Put those 2 names together. You have Eddie Hearn do like maybe a DAZN pay-per-view if that's possible. We'll see how that goes. Love that fight. I 100% love that fight. That's number 1. Then if I could pick the next name, it'll be Francis Ngannou, just a crossover. I do think there's interest. Is this somewhat of a gimmick fight? Yes. And nobody loves a gimmick fight more than Dana White, right? Because he's talking about Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, even though he hates. And you guys seen, he's been responding to some people about like, excusing himself of why that's not a gimmick fight. Sorry to go on a tangent, but I'll quickly say Dana White says that Zuckerberg and Elon Musk isn't a gimmick fight, but boxing versus MMA fighters are gimmick fights for whatever that's worth. Anyways, if Francis doesn't get the big boxing fight he wants, then what happens? That's because what heavyweight in the PFL is a name that if I transform myself into a Trey, and what I mean by a Trey is a casual fan, if I transform myself into a Trey, I'm not paying for Wilder versus a number 1 to 5 ranked heavyweight fighter in the PFL that I never heard of. I'm just not. Now, if I heard, Francis Ngannou is fighting Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, I kind of want to watch the circus in a sense, because a boxer versus an MMA fighter, Francis Ngannou, the baddest man on the planet, allegedly. Let's watch it. But if it's against a no-name, a relative no-name, I don't want to see it. But man, Francis Ngannou, in my opinion, will hit a home run if he's able to make that happen. In my opinion, Wilder versus Joshua. I love Wilder versus Joshua more than anything. As Fury versus Joshua are the only fights I want to see at heavyweight. I wouldn't mind seeing Joshua versus Fury. And it's almost like Fury doesn't get mentioned enough. Fury is another one, man, that he frustrates me as well, too, because I wanted to see that Usyk fight. And he might be ducking him. And I know that's a big accusation, but they can have the circus fights after the real ones. That's fair, too. I think they could have it before. Mike, let's go to the 12-minute mark. Link presented by my man Hito. Let's see what we got to say here.
Is that December card official? Like,
is that December card official? And Eddie Hearn says, which one?
News right now, the Mega Saudi card you just said.
Oh no.
The Mega Saudi card. We've heard about that. We've heard about Fury, Usyk, Wilder, Joshua.
No. But we're meeting Saudis this week to close it off.
We're meeting Saudi. Wow. Okay. So Hito with a good phone call and the good link. And this was posted just a day ago. So we're meeting with them this week to close negotiations. So we might hear soon. Because I just heard Wilder versus Ruiz. But allegedly there's Wilder and Joshua.
He will fight Wilder in December.
He will fight Wilder in December. Round of applause for Hito.
They want to do Usyk and Fury. I have no idea where that's up to, but we just
they want to do Usyk Fury. We don't know what's going on with that, says Eddie Hearn.
focusing on our fight.
Right on. Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you so much for watching this video.
And there's my twin. Do you guys see it? Speak of the devil. I would argue that I'm the cooler version. I think his name is like Villegas. Somebody said, yo, you look like that Fight Hub guy. I forget who told me that. Might have been Beta. Was I a little bit offended? Yes. Do you guys see the resemblance? Let me know. But he says we're closing off negotiations. Can we take Eddie Hearn at his word? They can have the circuit fights after the real ones. Plug says Eddie Hearn also called Francis too expensive. I mean, when you get the Saudis, I can see it happening. Does Francis ask for a lot sometimes? Yes. Ruiz is going to get wires. Dude barely fights. Ruiz has said, Andy Ruiz, see if I can find it. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I know it's, here it is. This is Andy Ruiz, what, just yesterday? With the fire kicks? Is this Fight Hype as well too? This Fight Hype. Where's the volume?
Our shoes, man. It helps me so much.
Let's see what he has to say.
Shout out to Animals, man. Like I said, these are the best shoes in the whole damn world. These are like superpower shoes, man.
I kind of want those, and he's talking about the shoes, but Andy Ruiz, I don't. Andy Ruiz is like, I gotta be careful here. I'm not a hater. I gotta be careful, but sometimes I feel like just turning heel. Anyways, Andy Ruiz looks like one of those like Weight Watcher guys that you see in a commercial where they lost a ton of weight and they look completely brand new. Anyways,
it helps me so much. Shout out to Animals, bro. We're getting it. Make sure you guys tune in.
Make sure you guys tune in, and here it is.
Big things coming up.
Big things coming up.
Wilder, we're coming, man. We're just negotiating right now.
Wilder, we're coming. We're just negotiating right now. So on one hand, we have Eddie Hearn saying Wilder and Joshua is up next. On the other hand, we have Andy Ruiz saying they're negotiating and it's going to be Wilder Ruiz. Which one is it, and which one do you guys prefer? Please play the video I DM'd you. You're becoming a reliable source. So let me head over to my DMs real quick and find it. My guy Beta in the chat, my freaking guy. Yo, Beta. Not for nothing, man. One of the most fun live streams that at a legendary. Great to have you, Beta. We're getting better at the solo. Getting better at the solo. What's it called? Live streams on Monday mornings. Very fun live stream so far. We're already like an hour in, I think. Yeah, hour and 11, and it feels like 10 minutes. Oh, those God. 3 names. Maybe Emmett just isn't what we thought he was. You know what I need to put it as a clip in the stream? That Chicago Bears coach he is who we thought they are, who we thought they were, something like that. Yeah, I failed there a little bit. I'm gonna need you to delete that expeditiously. All right. All right. Hito, let's go over and delete that. Ruiz is going to get watched, barely fights. Damn, I'm late, says Beta. Beta in the building. Please play the video idea. It's now or never. They are mid-30s. Ruiz, AJ, Usyk, Wilder, and you see Saudi getting involved as well too, and it becomes interesting, man. It becomes interesting. If I could play a little bit of matchmaking. Damn, there's so much to say, but we got to get off soon. There's so much to talk about. If I could play a little bit of matchmaking, I'll give Topuria, Brian Ortega. I'll give Wilder and Ngannou. I know that's a little bit unpopular. No, I'll give Wilder Joshua if I had to pick, but then you kind of leave Francis on an island. And selfishly, I want to see Francis defeat the UFC in a sense, and I want to see Francis and Joshua for that reason. But if I could play matchmaking, give Topuria Brian Ortega, give Wilder Joshua, give Fury Usyk, give Canelo Benavidez. If you could squeeze that in somehow before 2023, one of the best fight years in a very long time. Jesus says they're in their mid-30s. Ruiz, AJ, Usyk, Wilder. We have Eddie Hearn saying it's going to be Wilder Joshua next. We have Ruiz saying it's going to be Ruiz and Wilder next. Which one do you guys prefer? I would take Wilder and Joshua if I could pick between those two. Very, 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 very fun stream today, guys. Thank you guys so much. It was a back and forth Monday morning. We covered so many topics. Let's keep this going on Mondays because that was a lot of fun, guys. If there's anything else you guys want to cover before we get out of here, let me know. But very successful, very fun Monday morning live stream. Every Monday morning at 10:30 a.m. One of my favorite ones, man. Today was memorable. We had a great back and forth with some breaking news from Hito with the call, plugs letting us know a couple things. Mike Dornan, Path to Truth in the building, HL. Very good discussion today, guys. Again, Topuria gets it done. if I were to be a little bit more pessimistic before we get out of here, I think it's too early for Topuria. If I had to look at the top 5, I think he loses to Volkanovski, perhaps beats Rodriguez. I'm going to say yes, beats him, but it's a close one. Loses to Holloway, I think. Beats Ortega, beats Allen. I think at 26 years old, let's pump the brakes. In my opinion, Canelo, Benavidez, we don't want to see anything else, but it appears to be Charlo. How is Ruiz a topic of conversation? Because there isn't that really many eligible heavyweights that sell well in boxing right now. Look at the big names in the heavyweight division. If it's not Fury, Usyk, and you could argue that Usyk doesn't sell well unless he has a good name. If it's not Fury, Usyk, Wilder, Joshua in the heavyweight division, there's really no big names. Now, I will say there are some names that are climbing up, but look, Fury, Usyk, Joshua, Andy Ruiz is still ranked number 4 according to BoxRec. Dillian White getting up there in age, Dubois. Wilder's, all these heavyweights are going up in age, like Jesus said, mid-30s, are getting older. The only guy that's like climbing up the ranks is who? Jared Anderson. That's with Top Rank. That might be making a claim for himself, but there aren't really any big superstars in the heavyweight division that you could give to Wilder. He already beat Luis Ortiz. There's Joseph Parker out there. There's no really big names. And if Wilder doesn't get Joshua, that might be the next best thing, Hito, right now, at this point in boxing. He really a bum with one lucky punch that made his career. Yeah, when he called Joshua, man, it's crazy. I almost want to start a segment called What If Wednesdays, where we just go live on stream and we talk about a bunch of what ifs. Because that's a big what if. Joshua at that time, he was people were saying he looks like one of the warriors from 300, one of the most dangerous heavyweights, maybe the best one. If you look at his resume, speaking of Joshua, he has a better resume than Wilder. He was fighting big names. Remember, he beat Klitschko back in 2017, Joseph Parker, Povetkin, Ruiz. He lost, so that's when things started changing. But he beat some big names until he lost to Andy Ruiz. What if he never got caught by Ruiz and played it safe? And when he got tagged, he tried to stay in the pocket. If he just wanted to outbox Ruiz, he would have been able to get it done. What if he never got hurt by Ruiz? What if Petr Yan never landed that knee against Aljamain Sterling? What if Corey Sandhagen was fighting Cejudo instead of Marlon Vera? How is it that Vera gets the shot against Cejudo when he lost to Corey Sandhagen and Sandhagen fights Umar Nurmagomedov? Do rankings even mean anything? And that will be my last what was that at do rankings really mean anything? Let me head over real quick to my history. Yo, the daughter has to watch that. Silly Miss Lily, she loves that. And look at something that Aljamain Sterling said. I think this is gonna be my next short.
Let me Sugar Show.
Let me see. This is gonna be my next short. But Aljamain Sterling says it, and Corey Sandhagen said
fights that were handpicked for him to look like come in. He's had like these tailor-made fights.
Speaking of Sean O'Malley, he's had this tailor-made fights
that were handpicked for him to look like a superstar. And in all fairness, I'm not even mad at that. What I'm more annoyed with is the fact that he has an opportunity to really stake his claim and declare to the division, bow down gracefully and go, hey guys, this is who I am and I'm here.
How does he get the shot so early, right? Granted, he did beat Petr Yan.
And instead he goes out, he fights Cheeto. Literally the fight lasts.
And he brings us up. At the end of the day, that was a loss, right? When he lost to Cheeto.
Like maybe 3 minutes. He throws a couple kicks. He gets kicked once. He falls over. Gets punched like one time and his lights get shut out. And TKO. He gets knocked out by Cheeto.
He gets knocked out by Cheeto. And this is what Sterling is alluding to, his resume.
Cheeto somehow moves up. He ends up fighting Pedro.
Right, and then the whole eye poke thing happened.
Edward Scissorhands his eyeballs on his fingertips, and
Sterling is talking that talk.
And in a razor close fight, in a fight where I thought Yan won in real time because I was getting ready for my fight.
What time would that be good at, Hito? Happened, man. I really want live streams and shorts is what I'm gonna focus on the most.
I went back and watched. I was like, I think Charlo.
But that's a good idea, right?
I literally went back and watched it again. I was like, how can I change my mind so much in watching this fight 3 different times?
And then he puts the no effing way, the worst robbery in UFC history. Even Khabib, I remember Khabib reacting to this after O'Malley gets the gift of the decision.
Teeth. I've cut my teeth. Even talking about.
So he talks about that. Let me quick. Too. I don't know if I'd be showing too much information by showing my history and all that, but anyways, where's Corey Sandhagen? Right?
Always great catching up with my next guest, Corey.
Seconds, and he brings up a great point. Just a conversation that we need to keep having.
Contender spot, you know, it would be number 1 guy against the number 11 guy. So,
it could be the number 1 guy versus the number 11th guy.
Yeah, to me, the rankings don't really matter that much.
To me, the rankings don't really matter that much, and I think he's saying
that Umar is a very, very good fighter, and those are the guys that I'm interested in fighting. I think he's about how.
I think I gotta go before.
I don't think the ranking.
Was it the fan response to the fight?
James Lynch does a great job. I watch him a lot as well too. You guys can check out his content.
A piece of that was because
credit to him. Gotta give credit to the people putting in the work. Right, he's been around for a while.
Who cares less about the rankings?
I don't know who cares less about the rankings. Last thing we're gonna talk about too, little conspiracy theories. Let me know, Hito. I don't know, whatever works for you. I just thought that's a good idea. What if Wednesdays? What if Piotr Jan? I mean, the list could go on and on. You guys can help me with topics, and we'll just have like a Wednesday stream.
UFC, you know, like I don't.
I could squeeze in streams, especially if I'm not doing videos and I'm just doing shorts and streams. And I think that'll help the stream grow. I don't think rankings really matter. I don't know who it matters to more.
When you get like a bunch of stuff about how why would you fight this far down in the rankings, you know, and it's like the rankings really don't mean. Like I said, Umar was going to fight Merab for number 1 contender spot.
Which, how does that make sense, right?
You know, it would be number 1 guy against the number 11 guy. So, yeah, to me, the rankings don't really matter that much.
And maybe even to the UFC, they don't even matter as much as well, too. You see Corey Sandhagen kind of accepting the reality. Sean O'Malley fighting Piotr Jan after, what was it? Was it the eye poke after Pedro? And then he gets immediately a shot at the title. So that's number 11 to number 1. Topuria, if you were to fight for the title, let's say tomorrow, he goes from 9 to beating 5 to number 1. Not the worst, but there's nobody else for Volkanovski. We keep seeing things like this happen in the rankings, right? It is not necessarily a meritocracy. Look how long Leon Edwards had to wait for a title shot. I mean, the list goes on. Beta says, give him Ortega on the comeback. That Beta, great minds think alike. I've literally been saying that's the name I think is best for Topuria right now. If you want to, you know, not fast track him and just a little bit too early at 26 years old to fight Volkanovski at this point in his career. They don't, not in boxing or UFC, right? Bro, what if Wednesdays is fire? Miller DC plans today. I have a doctor's appointment at 1:30. I think I have this thing called, before we get out of here, I think I have this thing called, I think it's like sleep apnea. And the reason why I believe, if I get 8 hours of sleep, it doesn't feel like I got enough rest because I don't really breathe normally out of my nose and I snore. And I think it's because I have a deviated septum. So it's hard for me to breathe where I don't, as strange as it sounds, it doesn't feel like much air comes out of my nose. And I got a big ass nose, but still, right? And I've had this problem before when I was in high school, got surgery, but they say it comes back. All that to say, like, I don't really get proper sleep and I don't get enough oxygen to myself. So I'm gonna get checked today and then see what happens because I would like to fix that problem because I'm always tired, bro. It's the worst. So we'll see what happens. So besides that, doctor's appointment, then I'll come back, work on the Sterling short, and then just working on content for the rest of the day, Jesus. Whatever works for you, you should give me a segment on what if Ryan won. I would love to have that. Anyways, guys, we've had a good stream, a long stream today, but a fun one, man. We covered some interesting topics, man. A lot of fun today. Great podcast Monday morning. Let's get out of here. Thank you guys for the ongoing support. Keep on the lookout for What If Wednesdays. I like the idea. I don't think anybody else has that right now. Let me know your guys' thoughts on a good time. It has to be after work for me, so it'll have to be like 5 or 6 or 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. So give me some ideas on that. in Discord or Instagram, shoot me a DM. #1 commentary channel on YouTube. We had a great live stream, and we kind of went off on a tangent at the end of the stream, but that's okay because we were closing up. Beta, Hito, Jesus, Mike Dornan, Plugs, HL, everybody else that stopped by today, Joe DeJesus. I appreciate you guys. Let's keep this channel growing. Very fun stream. We'll be back soon, and maybe we could start What If Wednesdays next Wednesday or something like that. Might be too early this Wednesday. We'll see. Let me know in Discord. #1 commentary channel on YouTube. I'll catch you guys soon. Much love. God bless. Peace.
I'm the best ever. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me.
Yo, bounce guy, go off.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants.
Wilder's in a world of trouble. Closing seconds. Can he weather the storm here in the third round?
And the ball to superlative.
Big right hook lands flush for Cambosos, and that knocks down teofimo Lopez. We have ourselves a fight. Khabib Nurmagomedov gets a triangle choke from up top. Gaethje's out, and the fight is over. The triangle choke for Khabib Nurmagomedov.
And Porter gets knocked down. He gets knocked down again. 10th round TKO win.
Left uppercut, and then knocks out Leo. It appears he's out cold. The fight is over. It was a counter left uppercut, and just like that, what a left uppercut. I did not see that coming, ladies and gentlemen. I will have to admit, what a fight.
Nice celebration or a 3K video. I don't know, man. To hit 3,000 subscribers and like
Right hook to the body for Campbell. Left hook to the body for Garcia. And that knocked down Campbell. It was a left hook to the body. Campbell on the ground. The count is on. Can he make his way up? It appears he can't get up. Campbell on the ground. Trying to stand up. And the fight is over. Ryan Garcia with a 7th round knockdown. What a performance. Guys, if you haven't, hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers. Do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up. We're trying to do record numbers today. Ryan Garcia tearing up and crying. What a performance for Ryan Garcia.